Next on Worcester News tonight, in an effort to help combat the opioid crisis, Worcester is suing the pharmaceutical industry. Plus, cleanup efforts are underway in Douglas after the town is hit by a tornado. But first, we begin tonight with Worcester police identifying the 23-year-old man shot and killed early Sunday morning. Good evening, I'm Olivia Lemon. Police have identified the man as Jovanexon Rivera. Police say around 2:30 Sunday morning, they responded to Sturgis Street for a report of shots fired. A 28-year-old man was also found suffering from a gunshot wound. He remains in critical condition at this time. Rivera was brought to the hospital by a family member. He died a short time later. This is the city's second homicide of the year. Worcester announcing Monday the city is filing a lawsuit in Superior Court to hold opioid drug manufacturers accountable. City councilors say it's part of a larger lawsuit and hope this will address the issue in a new way. Our Rosalind Flaherty joins us now to explain. Rosalind?
Olivia, the complaint alleges prescription opioids are a gateway drug to heroin, and in the lawsuit, Worcester is holding a number of companies accountable. Worcester is joining other cities and towns in a lawsuit against opioid manufacturers. The city announced they will hold 8 large companies accountable for substantial damages.
To address where we are right now, we have to really understand where we've come from, how this started.
The complaint alleges prescription opioids are a gateway drug to heroin. The city says, according to data, approximately 80% of heroin users got their start with prescription opioids. City Councilor Sarai Rivera says the lawsuit shows strength in numbers.
Tackling the issue of the opioid crisis has been one of the strong issues that we've been dealing with. It makes sense to be able to kind of really get on board collectively with other municipalities to address this issue in this way.
According to the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, there were 257 opioid-related overdose deaths in Worcester County last year.
I see needles, I see things lying around at all times, so I think it would be beneficial.
The suit is seeking damages which would go towards things like an increase in first responder costs, Narcan training, and addiction programs.
The good thing is that we're finally talking about it in the right way, and so for too long we were criminalizing a health issue.
The lawsuit does not cost the city any money. People like Colette Kalageropoulos think it's a great first step to combat the crisis.
I've seen it go down, I've seen it go up, I've seen it go down, and I think now we're raising the bar again, and I think we all have to participate in that.
Now, the city says expenses and attorney fees will be paid only out of any amounts awarded to the city through the litigation. Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
Worcester police are asking for information about the death of a 38-year-old woman. Police posting these flyers around Lake Park where Marlene Blue was found face down in the water Saturday. They say she was known to frequent the park over the past several months. If you were familiar with her or saw her vehicle in the days leading up to her death, you were asked to call police. They say it's unclear if she drowned. The exact cause of death is still unknown, pending results from the medical examiner's office. The Millbury police chief taking racial slurs made by a group of high school students seriously. Chief Donald DeSorcy says a group chat with a racial slur was shared on social media last week after another student hacked into the group chat and took screenshots of the comments. The chief says all of the students were called into the station to discuss the situation. He says now the superintendent is looking into hosting peer leadership programs. An organization built by Marines is in central Massachusetts Tuesday, working to help communities affected by last week's tornado. Team Rubicon says they are helping Douglas residents with restoration efforts. Our Brittany Schaefer has more on their work.
The aftermath of an EF1 tornado can still be seen in Douglas. This giant oak tree came just feet away from this home behind me, and the homeowner says she's lucky to be alive.
Yeah, this is a big concern for me.
5 days after a tornado touches ground in Douglas, Cindy Murphy still can't believe this is her backyard.
Never experienced anything like this before. There's a lot down.
Tuesday, Team Rubicon crews were out surveying and cleaning up some of the dozens of downed trees on her property. The Veteran Disaster Response Group sent dozens of volunteers to Douglas to help homeowners with their private property where state agencies cannot.
We have our chainsaw operators, which are sawyers, so we're going to employ those teams out in both areas to try to help clean up the debris from the tree fall. We also can do some expedient home repair. It helps me get in touch with our community and serve again.
It draws the community closer together. Some posts I saw, thank you God for sending Team Rubicon.
Volunteers were out chainsawing trees in the yards of homes on Maple Street, including Murphy's home.
This property was hit harder than many other properties, and the lady was actually lucky in that 2 trees came down and actually missed her house by just a few feet.
It's truly a blessing to have people come out and help us with cleanup that we are physically not capable of doing.
Team Rubicon has been out helping the Douglas community since the tornado struck on Thursday, and they expect to continue helping until Sunday. In Douglas, Brittany Schaefer, Worcester News Tonight.
Auburn police and fire departments on scene of a construction site late this morning. The fire department says an underground gas line was struck during construction on School Street. Eversource was also on scene working to repair the break. A portion of the road was shut down for about an hour. The Worcester Regional Airport receiving a more than $3 million grant for airport infrastructure. The U.S. Department of Transportation announced the Federal Aviation Administration will award a $3.2 million grant to help rehabilitate runways. The grants are part of a total of $3.18 billion in airport improvement programs funding this year for projects across the nation. The Department of Transportation says this grant is a down payment to ensure Worcester Regional Airport remains an economic engine as demand grows. New England lawmakers taking on 3D printed guns. Massachusetts Congressman Seth Moulton and Rhode Island Congressman David Cicilline plan to introduce a bill banning the creation and possession of those guns. Democratic senators also spoke out against printable weapons, calling it the ultimate gun loophole.
Mr. President, you once said that you alone can fix things. Well, fix this deadly mistake that once again your administration has made, because 3D printable, downloadable guns are a reality.
Massachusetts joined 7 other states in filing a lawsuit against the administration to block the plans to make these guns from being made available online. The president took to Twitter stating he was in contact with the NRA and looking into the sale of 3D plastic guns. Lawmakers say the plastic weapons would elude detection at most security checkpoints. A local organization is reaching out and educating the community on Question 3 ahead of the November election. Voting yes would keep Massachusetts transgender non-discrimination laws in place. Freedom for All Massachusetts opened their office in Worcester last month. Regional Field Director Pai Fong says Worcester has had a non-discrimination law protecting public places since 2014. The organization has been doing outreach, including phone calls and going door to door in Worcester County neighborhoods to encourage voters to vote yes.
Keeping our transgender inclusive non-discrimination law is so important because it sends a message about who is welcome here in Massachusetts and how we treat people in Massachusetts fairly. Voting yes on 3 will help make sure that transgender people continue to feel safe, protected, and welcome right here in Massachusetts.
Fong says there are currently 1,500 volunteers who are taking action for Freedom for All Massachusetts. Massachusetts lawmakers are giving the green light to a bill that would tax short-term rentals such as Airbnb. The measure would add a state tax of 5.7%. Cities would decide if they want to add their own tax, which could make the overall tax as high as 17%. The bill now goes to the governor's desk for approval.